Most spreadsheet work does not start with analysis. It starts with getting the data in. You log into Mailchimp, HubSpot, Stripe, Mixpanel, Google Analytics, or whatever tools you use. You export it to a CSV, upload it to a spreadsheet, clean the columns, rebuild the report, and then do the exact same thing next week. Agent Sync in Quadratic is built to fix that. It helps you connect to virtually any data source directly to your spreadsheet, so you can ask questions about live business data and automate your reporting instead of constantly exporting files. Agent Sync is Quadratic's AI-guided workflow for connecting your external tools to your spreadsheet. Instead of dealing with complicated API docs or the permissions and versioning issues that come with Power Query, you can just tell Quadratic where your data is and have it live in your spreadsheet in a couple of minutes. The agent helps you figure out the setup steps, walks you through getting the credentials, verifies the connection, and then makes that available inside Quadratic. Once it's connected, Quadratic shows you all the data that's available, so you can pull in whatever numbers you need and do your own analysis, or just ask questions and have the AI automate everything for you. And once you build a report based on your connected data, you can schedule the file to update daily, giving you fresh insights anytime you open it back up. Let's walk through a real example. I'm going to connect Mailchimp to Quadratic, then use that campaign data to understand how our emails are performing. Inside a new Quadratic file, I'll click on Data on the left sidebar, then the plus sign. Here you can see the catalog with connections that have already been pre-built, so you can get started with these ones in a few clicks. But for this demo, I'm going to click Connect to Anything because I want to show how Agent Sync can help you do just that. It mentions again in the chat the pre-built connections and asks what I want to connect. I'll type in Mailchimp. Agent connections work through APIs, but instead of me going to search through API docs myself, which is painful as a marketer, Agent Sync searches the web to figure out what's needed to connect. It finds that this particular service needs a string for my account URL. I'll log into Mailchimp and then write it here in the chat. Now it identifies the credential requirements, explains where to find the API key, and gives me the exact steps to follow. This is the important part. The agent is not just giving me a generic answer, it's helping me set up an actual working connection. I'll go into Mailchimp and find my API key based on what it told me. This is pretty simple. I just find the right place, create a new key, and name it. Once I have the key, I come back to Quadratic and paste it into the secure credential form. I'm not pasting the API key into a random spreadsheet cell or asking AI to remember it in the chat. The key gets stored as a secret, so Quadratic can use it safely when making requests without actually seeing it. Now Quadratic verifies the connection. This is a really useful step because it tells me whether the setup actually worked before I try to build analysis on top of it. Once the request succeeds, the Mailchimp connection is created and added to context. I'll first ask to pull performance of my campaigns for the past 30 days versus the previous period to compare open and click rates. It figures out the Python code needed to pull that specific data and puts it on the grid. Quadratic even formats the data nicely for me and gives me a simple summary of the campaign performance comparison so I can get the insights either way that I prefer. In this case, there's not enough useful data in the last 30 days. That happens all the time in real analysis. So I'll ask a follow-up and expand the window to the last 90 days. I also asked it to chart any interesting insights, so I'm excited to see what it comes back with. Alright, now we have a chart, an updated comparison table, and a written summary of what changed. I'll check out the interactive chart here, and when I hover over, I can see specific emails we've sent and how they did. I also should mention this panel that popped open here earlier. This is all of the available data tables through the Mailchimp API. You can expand each one to get more information on what it includes. I'm just going to zoom with my trackpad here and get a better look at this visual. It's interactive, so whenever I hover over one of these values, I can see specific emails we've sent and how they actually did. I can also double click on the chart header here and see the code powering it. You can see on line 6 it has the Mailchimp API URL, and on line 7 we have our API key used as a variable. Now I'll go one level deeper. I'll ask what my best subject lines are in terms of open rates. This is the kind of follow-up that would normally mean going back to the source tool, changing the export, pulling a different report, and rebuilding the spreadsheet. Here I can just ask the question and I get a list of all my emails and their metrics. It's going to recap in the chat, and I'll also do some manual formatting like you normally would in any spreadsheet. Now let's make this more interesting. Email performance is useful, but what I really care about is whether our emails are driving product behavior. I have my Mixpanel data also connected to Quadratic, so I'll ask if people have been exporting to Excel since we first sent an email about it. It tells me that over 13,000 people used the feature since the email went out, but I want to know if people who actually opened and clicked on the email adopted the feature versus people who just opened it. Quadratic pulls some more Mailchimp data to identify how to match specific users in that campaign to the same ones in our Mixpanel data. It runs into a little error, but the beautiful thing about AI and Quadratic is that it just fixes itself. So it runs some code to test a join method, a block to the distinct IDs for privacy. Then it runs a Mixpanel query to identify the feature adoption rate of people who actually engage with the email. It looks like people who clicked were 2 times more likely to use the feature, so I probably need to write much better calls to action in my emails to capture more clicks in our next announcement. Agent Sync isn't just for Mailchimp or Mixpanel. You can pull CRM data into a sales pipeline report, pull Stripe data into a revenue dashboard, pull marketing campaign data into a performance report, pull support tickets into a customer issue tracker, pull product analytics into a weekly growth report, or pull finance transactions into an expense analysis. The pattern's the same. Connect your tools once, then use the spreadsheet to analyze what changed, combine tables together, and create repeatable reports. So that's Agent Sync. Connect the tools you already use, bring the data into Quadratic, and ask better questions without rebuilding the same spreadsheet every week. Try it for free at quadratic.ai and let me know what you think in the comments.